You know when you're watching a tennis match, your eyes are just glued to the explosive stuff, right? The massive serves, the forehands that are just a blur. But what if I told you the most dominant force in the game is something you can barely even see? Today, we're diving deep into the strategy that quietly racks up championships, the Counterpuncher's Playbook. Let's get into what makes this so incredibly effective.
All right, so let me ask you a question. What do you think is the single most powerful weapon in tennis? 140-mile-per-hour serve? A forehand that kicks up over your opponent's head? I mean, all the obvious answers point to just raw brute force. But what if the real answer, the one backed up by tons of match data, is something way more subtle? Something like patience.
So in tennis, it really boils down to two competing ideas. On one side, you've got explosive power. This is all your highlight reel stuff. Players going for broke, hitting high-risk shots to end the point fast. And on the other side, unbreakable patience. This is a whole different game. It's about playing the percentages, dragging out the rallies, and not trying to overpower your opponent, but trying to mentally exhaust them.
And that second philosophy, that's where we find the master of patience, the player that opponents call the wall. So let's really dive in and break down the anatomy of this player archetype, the counterpuncher.
So what exactly is a counterpuncher? Well, yeah, they're defensive players, but don't you dare mistake defensive for passive. Their whole game is basically built to absorb an opponent's best shot, all that power and spin, and just use their incredible consistency to send it right back, often with a little extra something on it. So what's in the DNA of a great counterpuncher? Well, it's way more than just being a good runner. I mean, first, you need insane fitness, right? The ability to just go for hours. Then there's this thing called high rally tolerance, which is just a fancy way of saying you're totally willing to hit the ball 20, 30, even 40 times in one point. You have to be a master at neutralizing attacks. But the absolute bedrock, the thing that holds it all together, total emotional stability, even when things get crazy.
Okay, so this player can run all day and stay cool as a cucumber, but how do they actually, win? Well, that brings us to the physical and tactical grind, and this is where the stats tell a story you might not expect.
This right here, this is the absolute core of the whole strategy. It's a complete shift in thinking. Forget about hitting those jaw-dropping highlight reel winners. That is not the goal. The counterpuncher wins because of one simple thing: your mistakes. Their entire mission is to create a situation where you are forced to take more and more risks until, inevitably, you miss.
And get this one number explains why that strategy is so lethal. Analysis of thousands and thousands of pro matches shows that around 70%, 70, of all points end in an unforced error. It's not about a brilliant winner, it's about a mistake. So the game isn't really about who wins the most points, it's about who loses the fewest. And this chart just lays it all out visually. I mean, look at the aggressor. Sure, they're hitting more flashy winners, but look at the cost. That bar for unforced errors is huge. Now look at the counterpuncher. Barely any winners, sure, but their error count is tiny. And over a 2 or 3 hour match, that little statistical edge, well, it turns into an avalanche.
So you have to understand, every single ball that comes back over the net isn't just a shot, it's a question. It's asking, can you hit another perfect shot? Can you stay focused? Can you stop yourself from getting frustrated and going for a crazy low percentage winner? The goal is to just keep asking those questions over and over and over until the answer is finally no.
And that's where the real game is played, that moment of frustration. Which brings us to the counterpuncher's true secret weapon, the psychology of patience. This is all about winning that battle between the ears. Now, this isn't just about being stubborn. It's a calculated mental system. Check out this loop. First, they absorb pressure. They almost invite you to hit your best shot. Second, they just maintain that relentless consistency, ball after ball. But third, this is where they get smart. As the rally goes on, they're gathering data, watching for signs that you're getting tired or frustrated. And finally, number 4, they wait for that mistake they know is coming, and they pounce. There's this fantastic quote from sports psychology research that just hits the nail on the head. At the professional level, everyone's got skills, right? They can all hit the ball. The real difference maker is who can still use those skills when the pressure is through the roof. The counterpuncher's game is all about keeping their own emotional interference low, while their strategy is designed to make their opponents go sky high.
And you can literally see this play out. For the big hitter, a long rally starts to feel like a prison. Their frustration just builds, they get more impulsive, and they get obsessed with just ending the point. But the counterpuncher, they're in their element. Calm, patient, and just focused on the process, hit the next ball in. It's two players in the exact same rally, living in completely different mental worlds.
All right, so let's tie all of this together. We're at the ultimate takeaway here. This is why resilience wins. It's that perfect combination of the physical grind and the psychological warfare. And this is the true, beautiful, and kind of brutal art of the counterpuncher. They're not beating you in the traditional sense. They're not blasting you off the court. They are creating an environment of such suffocating pressure and consistency that your own aggression becomes the weapon of your own downfall. You're not fighting them, you're fighting a wall. And eventually, the wall always wins.
So, if you're going to remember 4 key things from all of this, let it be these. 1. Consistency is not boring. It is a lethal weapon. 2. Remember that 70% number. Most points are lost, not won. 3. Mental endurance will often, and I mean often, beat raw physical power. And finally, 4. Patience isn't passive. It's an active strategy for creating opportunity. Which kind of leaves us with one final big question. We all celebrate the things we can see, right? The power, the speed, the flashy plays. But maybe the greatest weapon of all, not just in tennis but in any competition, is the one that's totally invisible. It's that quiet, stubborn, unyielding resilience, that simple refusal to be broken. Makes you think, doesn't it?